Basic terminology of Nichiren Shosho Video 2. Bodhisattva Jogyo, Jogyo Bosatsu. Bodhisattva Jogyo, superior practice, is the leader of all the bodhisattvas of the earth, as well as the leading figure of the four leaders of the bodhisattvas of the earth. The four leaders are Jogyo, Muhengyo, boundless practice, Jougyo, pure practice, and Anrugyo, unwavering practice. In the orally transmitted teachings Agni Kuden, Nichiren Daishonin expounds on the four virtues of eternity, tranquility, true self, and purity that the Buddha possesses. He also teaches that in the latter day of the law, Bodhisattva Jogyo is the only one who has the four virtues of all the four leaders of the bodhisattvas of the earth within himself. Many Gosho writings state that Nichiren Daishonin, who propagated Nam-myoho Renge-kyo in the latter day of the law, is the reincarnation of Bodhisattva Jogyo, who received the transmission of the essence of the Lotus Sutra in the wondrous powers of the Tathagata, Jinriki 21st chapter of the Lotus Sutra. The Daishonin wrote in the Gosho 106 articles that his true identity is the property of perfect wisdom. His provisional identity is Bodhisattva Jogyo, and that he made his advent as Nichiren in the latter day of the law. Therefore, the Daishonin's true identity is the true Buddha of the property of intrinsically perfect wisdom from the infinite past of Kuan Ganjo. At the Tatsunokuchi persecution, the Daishonin discarded his provisional identity and revealed his true identity. Bodhisattvas of the earth, Jiyu no Bosatsu. This term refers to the countless number of great bodhisattvas equal in number to the sands of the 60,000 Ganji rivers who emerged from the earth in the Emerging from the Earth Juji Yujitsu 15th chapter of the Lotus Sutra. The purpose of their appearance was to substantiate Shakyamuni Buddha's revelation of his true identity as having first attained enlightenment in the inconceivably remote past. These bodhisattvas of the earth are the true disciples of Shakyamuni since the inconceivably remote past and possess the great virtue of the 32 distinguishing features. There are four leaders, named Bodhisattva Jogyo, superior practice, Bodhisattva Muhengyo, boundless practice, Bodhisattva Jougyo, pure practice, and Bodhisattva Anrugyo, unwavering practice. In the wondrous powers of the Tathagata, Jinriki 21st chapter, Bodhisattva Jogyo, the leader of the bodhisattvas of the earth, received the transmission of the essence of the Lotus Sutra and was entrusted with the propagation of the law in the latter day of the law. In quote, on the three great secret laws, unquote, Sandai Hyosho, Nichiren Daishonin states, these three great secret laws are the teachings that were orally transmitted to me, Nichiren, as the leader of the bodhisattvas of the earth, more than 2,000 years ago by Shakyamuni Buddha, the world-honored one of the unsurpassed enlightenment. Gosho, page 1595. As this passage teaches, Nichiren Daishonin is the reincarnation of Bodhisattva Jogyo. Furthermore, in the 106 articles, Nichiren Daishonin expounds, there is the true identity and the transient status of the teacher of the Lotus Sutra of the Buddhism of the Sowing. The property of perfect wisdom is the true identity, while Nichiren and Bodhisattva Jogyo are the transient statuses. Gosho, page 1695. As this passage indicates, the true identity of Bodhisattva Jogyo is none other than the property of perfect wisdom of the infinite past of Kuan Ganjo. Therefore, Bodhisattva Jogyo emerging from the earth is an external identity, while his true identity is the true Buddha of the infinite past of Kuan Ganjo. In quote, the true entity of all phenomena, Shoho Jiso Sho, the Daishonin states, if there were not bodhisattvas of the earth, then they could not chant the Daimoku, Gosho, page 666. In the latter day of the law, the true Buddha of the infinite past of Kuan Ganjo made his advent as Nichiren Daishonin. All people, therefore, can attain Buddhahood by chanting Daimoku to the true entity of Nichiren Daishonin, the Dai Kohanzen. Buddha with the property of intrinsically perfect wisdom. The Buddha with the property of intrinsically perfect wisdom refers to the Buddha who possesses the three enlightened properties: the property of the law, the property of wisdom, and the property of compassionate action within the single body of the property of wisdom. This term appears in the Lifespan, Juryo's 16th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, and has two meanings: the surface meaning of the words and the truth hidden in the depths. In the Lifespan chapter of the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni, who was born in India, discarded his provisional identity, revealed his true identity, and manifested the true entity of the Buddha's original enlightenment of the inconceivably remote past. This is the Buddha with the property of intrinsically perfect wisdom presented in the surface meaning of the words of the Lotus Sutra. 26th High Priest Nichikan Shonin stated the following in his writing, quote, "The meaning hidden in the depths," unquote. The Buddha who exhibits extraordinary features and grandeur is the tentative Buddha and manifests himself according to the capacity of assorted individuals. 6th-volume Writings, page 58. The Shakyamuni described in the surface meaning of the Lifespan chapter of the Lotus Sutra is the Buddha with a provisional identity who displays a magnificently adorned and sublime appearance. Nichiren Daishonin refers to the Buddha with the property of intrinsically perfect wisdom in, quote, "the teaching affirmed by all Buddhas of the three existences," unquote. Prior to the time of 500 myriad dust particles ago, when Shakyamuni Buddha was a common mortal, he realized that his body was composed of the five elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and space, and he instantly attained enlightenment. Gosho, page 1419. The High Priest Nichikan Shonin interpreted the above Gosho passage in, quote, "the meaning hidden in the depths," unquote. The property of perfect wisdom is the true property of the fusion of objective reality and subjective wisdom. 6th-volume Writings, page 58. Therefore, the Buddha who attained the fusion of objective reality and subjective wisdom in the infinite past of Kuan-Ganjo is the true Buddha. The Buddha with the property of intrinsically perfect wisdom. This is the truth hidden in the depths. Nichiren Daishonin clarified his identity in, quote, "on the true cause," unquote, as follows. What Shakyamuni practiced in the infinite past of Kuan-Ganjo when he was at the stage of first hearing the name of the law has been transferred to Nichiren in the latter day of the law, who is also at the same stage. Gosho, page 1684. Thus, the Daishonin indicates that he himself is exactly at the same stage as the true Buddha in the infinite past of Kuan-Ganjo, and the true Buddha with the property of intrinsically perfect wisdom. Buddhism of the Harvest, Dai Chako Buppo. This is the teaching whereby the Buddha of the harvest leads to enlightenment those who already possess the seed of Buddhahood. Shakyamuni, the Buddha of the harvest, began teaching and leading people toward enlightenment 500 myriad dust particle kalpas ago. From that time until his advent in India 3,000 years ago, he nurtured the people through the phase of maturing. When he finally appeared in India, he enabled the people to reach enlightenment by preaching the Lotus Sutra. This entire process is called the Buddhism of the harvest. The attainment of Buddhahood through the Buddhism of the harvest was possible only during the 2,000 years of the former and middle days of the law. The Buddhism of the harvest has lost its power in the latter day of the law. Buddhism of the sowing, Geshu Buppo. The Buddhism of Nichiren Daishonin is referred to as the Buddhism of the sowing, while the Buddhism of Shakyamuni Buddha is referred to as the Buddhism of the harvest. In the Buddhism of the harvest, Shakyamuni Buddha, the Buddha of the harvest, taught Buddhism to the people who had already received the seed for attaining Buddhahood. They could nurture the seed and attain enlightenment. The Shoju method was used to propagate Buddhism among those already possessing the seed for attaining Buddhahood. On the other hand, in the Buddhism of the Sowing, as in the case of the inconceivably remote past of Kuan-Ganjo, Nichiren Daishonin, the true Buddha of the Sowing, sows the original seed of Myoho Renge-kyo into the lives of the people who do not possess the seed for attaining Buddhahood, enabling them to attain enlightenment instantly. The method of Shakabuku is used to propagate Buddhism among those without the seed for attaining Buddhahood. Capacity, Kikon. Capacity is the people's potential ability to accept Buddhism. In the Daishonin's Buddhism, capacity is discussed through the perspective of the three phases of sowing, maturing, and harvesting, through which the Buddha leads the people to attain Buddhahood. The people during Shakyamuni's lifetime and during the former and middle days of the law had already received the seed for attaining Buddhahood from the Buddha in the remote past. Thus, they had the capacity to attain enlightenment through the Buddha's teachings and maturing and harvesting. On the other hand, those in the latter day of the law never had relationships with Buddhism in the past and therefore do not have the capacity to attain Buddhahood through Shakyamuni's teachings. Since their capacity is different, they must receive the seed for attaining Buddhahood for the first time from the true Buddha. Changing poison into medicine. This term indicates attaining Buddhahood as a common mortal in one's present form without eradicating one's illusions and desires. This doctrine originates from the treatise on the Great Sutra on the perfection of wisdom, Dai Chido Ron, which states, for instance, it is likened to an excellent physician skillfully turning poison into medicine, Taisho Tripitaka, volume 25, page 754. The pre-Lotus Sutra and provisional teachings indicate that in order to attain enlightenment, one must carry out Buddhist austerities over a period of countless kalpas to eliminate one's earthly desires. However, the Lotus Sutra elucidates the doctrines of the mutual possession of the 10 worlds and Ichinen Sanzen. According to the sutra, we, common mortals, will be able to attain Buddhahood without eliminating our earthly desires. Nichiren Daishonin states in the reply to Shijo Kingyo that the Lotus Sutra is the teaching that enables us to attain enlightenment without eradicating our earthly desires. Common mortals' faith is the ultimate life state, Bonpu Sokugoku. This term indicates the life condition of the true Buddha of the infinite past of Kuan-Ganjo. The ultimate life state means Buddhahood, the highest life condition to be attained in Buddhism. A common mortal's faith, in this case, refers to the stage at which one hears the name of the law for the first time and takes faith in it. The true Buddha described in the Buddhism of the Sowing, hidden in the depths of the Lifespan Juryo's 16th chapter, is the one who immediately attained enlightenment, namely the fusion of objective reality and subjective wisdom as a common mortal in the infinite past of Kuan-Ganjo. This signifies Nichiren Daishonin, who made his advent in the latter day of the law. According to Buddhist teachings, prior to the advent of Nichiren Daishonin, people reached the state of Buddhahood only after going through various stages of practice. However, Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism teaches that people can immediately attain enlightenment as a common mortal by carrying out the practice of Myoho Renge Kyo. Comparative truth and absolute truth, Sotai Myo, Zetai Myo. This doctrine is expounded in Tiantai's profound meaning of the Lotus Sutra. Comparative truth signifies that when compared with all previous Lotus Sutra teachings, the Lotus Sutra is judged to be the supreme truth and perfect, while the pre-Lotus Sutra teachings are determined to be expedient and imperfect. The Lotus Sutra is the true teaching expounded by the Buddha according to his own mind. From this viewpoint, the Lotus Sutra is superior, and all pre-Lotus Sutra teachings, which were expounded by the Buddha according to the capacity of the people, must be discarded. Absolute truth signifies refuting the provisional teachings and revealing the truth from the viewpoint of the absolute mystic law. The pre-Lotus Sutra teachings are partial and are derived from the Lotus Sutra. Their true value and significance are revealed only when they are explained from the viewpoint of the Lotus Sutra. Comparative truth in the Buddhism of the Sowing, expounded by the Daishonin, is to explain and conclude that the entity of the law is supreme, based on a comparison of the various teachings and doctrinal analysis. Absolute truth is the entity of the law revealed in the sole essential teaching of the Buddhism of the Sowing, hidden in the depths. It is the Daigo Hanzen, which manifests the oneness of the person and the law. The Daigo Hanzen is the origin of all teachings and benefit. Comparison between Buddhist and non-Buddhist teachings, Naige Sotai. This term indicates the first level of the fivefold comparison established by Nichiren Daishonin. At this level, in order to demonstrate the superiority of Buddhist teachings, a comparison is made between Buddhist teachings and non-Buddhist teachings. Buddhism analyzes each and every phenomena in the universe from the standpoint of the principle of cause, relation, latent effect, and manifest effect throughout the three existences of past, present, and future. In contrast, non-Buddhist teachings are one-sided because they are based on fatalism, the will of the gods, or the belief that everything occurs by chance. The Daishonin used examples of Confucianism and Taoism in China and Brahmanism in India as non-Buddhist teachings that were prevalent during his life and refuted them in the, quote, opening of the eyes, unquote, Kaimokusho. Non-Buddhist teachings are established as religions or philosophies that are affected by changes that occur over the ages. Thus, they are subject to refutation in light of the true Buddhist doctrines. Comparison between Mahayana and Hinayana Buddhism, Daisho Sotai. This term indicates the second level of the fivefold comparison. Within the teachings of Buddhism, there are two major classifications, Mahayana and Hinayana. Mahayana means great vehicle, and Hinayana means lesser vehicle. The word vehicle signifies the teaching to carry the people to enlightenment. Shakyamuni expounded Hinayana Buddhism in the early part of his preaching, namely the Agama period. These teachings were for the personal enlightenment of those learning and realization and who only sought to save themselves. On the contrary, Mahayana Buddhism, which was expounded in the Flower Garland expansion, Perfection of Wisdom, and Lotus Nirvana periods, is the teaching to lead both oneself and others to enlightenment. Therefore, the profound doctrines of Mahayana Buddhism are superior to the teachings of Hinayana Buddhism.